Hi everyone, it's Lindy. Welcome back to my channel. Today I want to tell you all the story of how I started my reselling business with only $20. But before I get started telling you guys the story, I realized that my coffee is looking pretty sad and I'm gonna need a refill for the story. While I'm refilling my coffee, feel free to hit the thumbs up button to let me know that you like content like this. And when you're done smashing that like button, we'll get into the story. Okay, now we can begin. So now to understand why I started reselling, we have to go way back to my childhood. So I was actually raised in a household where when the internet became a thing, my dad was actually an eBay seller when eBay first started. So to understand the why and the how, we have to go way back to my childhood. When I was a child, like 8, 9 years old, I remember I was in 3rd grade, I had asked my mother to buy me a package of baseball cards at the checkout of Albertsons, and she was completely thrown aback because I had zero interest in baseball. But what I had ended up doing was I had taken those baseball cards and I had sold them to schoolmates for 10 cents a piece, and I had actually turned a profit on the baseball cards that my mother bought me. And so I think I was kind of a born reseller, entrepreneur a little bit. And I think that I owe a lot of gratitude to my parents for kind of helping to cultivate that a little bit. You know, as a child, they let me participate in our household garage sales. So at a very young age, I started seeing how you can make money with products. I remember being 10 years old, true story, I took an empty Kleenex box, I filled it with rocks that were a part of the landscaping of our front yard, like those decorative rocks in front of all of the bushes. I filled a Kleenex box of decorative rocks and I sold them at our yard sale for $5 and someone bought it. I think it was just a neighbor who was trying to indulge the little girl from down the street, but in that moment, like I had gotten a taste of it with selling the baseball cards, but in that moment, selling a box of rocks for $5, it was like it clicked and there was no turning back for me. I could see the power of turning a product into money, and it was gonna be a thing forever. So when the internet started becoming a thing and eBay became a website, my dad actually started selling on the eBay platform when it first began. And my dad would actually take me to yard sales with him on the weekends where he would buy merchandise to flip on eBay. So at a very, very young age, I was seeing my dad buy to resell for profit. And I knew that they were selling because he would use me after school every day to help carry packages into the post office because he was selling so much that he couldn't possibly carry all of the packages into the post office in one single trip. So I was his second set of hands. So, you know, at the time, I don't think I really appreciated what my father was, you know, subconsciously teaching me. So as an adult, when I needed money, I automatically thought to do that just because I had seen it done firsthand. So thanks, Daddy, for that. So as a young adult, I'm talking 18, 19 years old, I definitely didn't make some of the smartest choices for my life. I did suffer from some low self-esteem, and because of the low self-esteem, I ended up marrying the first man that was basically the first long-term relationship I had ever had up to that point, which was only a few months. And unfortunately, it was not a very good functional relationship because I had no experience with relationships and frankly, no real life experience at all, because at the time I was only 19. I didn't know what a true functional relationship was supposed to be like from the inside. And then I made a very critical mistake by allowing us to get pregnant. And I say allowing us because it was a planned pregnancy. It was not, you know, an whoopsie pregnancy. It was a planned pregnancy, but we were planning to get married. And so I was convinced by him that it was a good idea to go ahead and get pregnant now before getting married, because then by the time our son was old enough to be an adult, we would still have, you know, half of our lives left. Looking back on that now, it was completely stupid. There is no reason a 20-year-old should be having a baby before they're even married on purpose, especially when there is little to no financial security. You know, at that point, I had maybe 1 semester of community college under my belt. At the age of 19, when I met my first husband, I didn't even have a life plan for myself. And so therefore, I seriously had no business getting pregnant as early as I did. And I really, really, really just want to kick myself when I think about it now, because I was so stupid. And seriously, the only thing good that ever came out of that was my oldest son. I love him so much. He's 14 now. He is just the most amazing kid. And so I would never change that, of course. But looking back on it now, I'll be 36 this year. Looking back on it now, I would have never made those same decisions that I made back when I was 19, 20 years old. It's just stupid. So anyway, about 3 or 4 months after getting pregnant, we did get married. And unfortunately, I very quickly started to see that I could not financially rely on my husband. That was one of the things that he had promised me, was that I didn't have to worry about a career. I could just be a stay-at-home mom, and he would bring in all of the money. I didn't need to worry about it. But then, of course, after I got pregnant and we got married, I started seeing that he could not hold a job seemingly for any reason at all. He kept telling me that there were reasons why he was going to have to quit. There was problems with employees. There was problems with bosses. He would get sick and lose a job, or there was just 1,001 excuses as to why he couldn't hold a job. And then at the same time, he did not want me to work outside the house. And this was something that I really should have seen as a red flag before we even got married, because I didn't realize that that was being controlling. So in 2006, my oldest son was born, and we had little to no money coming in. In the year since my husband and I had gotten married, he had probably gone through a dozen different jobs. Yes, a dozen different jobs in 1 year. We had no savings. We were on public assistance, and I was really, really scared. And so the one job that he did have was a very, very low paying job. And unfortunately, with a new baby, we needed more money. So I ended up convincing him to let me go get a part-time job working at Subway. And I talked about the Subway story in the video that I made about making $20,000 working from home part-time. I'll link that up here. And so anyway, I was absolutely depressed working at Subway, and so I decided that I needed to have another form of income. It was hard enough to convince my husband to let me get that job at Subway, and then it was also quite clear that working outside the house was not something that I wanted to do, especially for the small amount of money that I was making doing that. And so of course, I started thinking about selling on eBay. But remember, we had nothing. We were on public assistance. We had little to nothing coming in. And so I managed to scrape together $20 to buy my first round of inventory to resell. Now, at this point, I had no resale experience at all whatsoever. I had no idea what to buy. I had no money to buy things to sell to risk them not selling. And so I started buying stuff strictly based on price. And I had managed to find someone selling 2 trash bags full of women's clothing for $20. And now looking back on it, I can't remember what site it was. I remember the Yahoo forum group Free Cycle. Is that still a thing? I'm not even sure. So I remember Free Cycle. So I think that maybe the site that I had found these clothing pieces on was something similar to that, like a Yahoo forum. So I managed to take $20, and it was $20 out of the last $30 that we had. Like I said, we were hard up. And I took this $20 to this lady, and I got these 2 trash bags full of clothing. Luckily, most of the clothing items that were in these bags were perfectly acceptable. They were in really great condition, and they were even on the larger side, which if you sell clothing, you probably know that even now, larger sizes definitely sell better than smaller sizes. And so back in 2006, when I started putting stuff on eBay, that was when it was like really popular to do auctions. So all of the clothing items would just go on eBay on auction. And I remember taking photos with the Kodak digital camera that we had. I remember having to plug the camera into the computer to transfer the photos. It took forever to make listings, y'all. It took so long to create these listings. You know, I didn't have any fancy lighting. I didn't have any fancy backdrops. I had zero experience. I was literally laying these clothing items. The pants I would lay on carpet or the kitchen floor, and the shirts I would put on a hanger and I would just hang in a doorway. Like the trim for a door, I would just hang the hanger on the door frame. You know, I can't even begin to conceive how poorly put together my listings were back then. I mean, it was 14 years ago. But you know, every once in a while, I would sell one. And then when the stuff would sell, I'd have to figure out how to ship it. By the luck of the draw, I managed to have some old school manila envelopes in the house already. Yes, manila envelopes, like the yellowish brown paper 8x11 envelopes. Oh my God. I had no idea what poly mailers were. Not a clue. And for the record, I would never recommend that you ship clothing in a paper envelope. Oh God. So the first few items that I sold that were clothing items happened to have some manila envelopes, and so that's what I shipped them in. But I must have had a little bit of fortitude with the clothing items in the paper envelopes, because I remember taking cling wrap, like Glad cling wrap, and I wrapped the shirts in Glad cling wrap before sticking them into the manila envelopes. I can't believe I'm telling this story. Remember to subscribe and follow along if you want to learn how to sell on eBay from somebody who used to sell clothing items that were wrapped in Glad cling wrap and put in manila envelopes for shipping. I was starting to kind of pick up on things and learn things when it came to the shipping process, and I had taken a pair of jeans and put them in the manila envelope, and I took them to the post office to ship them. Bless the clerk behind the counter had pointed out that it was going to cost like $9 or something crazy like that to ship these jeans parcel because of the weight, or we could try to squeeze them into a priority flat rate envelope and they would only ship for, I think at the time it was something like $4.95, which at the time it was a significant amount of savings. And I was just like, what? Wait, what now? Priority flat rate envelopes? What is this? What does it do? Tell me more. So then the clerk gave me a little crash course, told me about how if you can fit it into a flat rate envelope, it doesn't matter how much it weighs, it's one rate to ship it. And from there I was sold. And then when the clerk told me that all of the priority shipping supplies were free, I could have kissed her. And that's one of the reasons why I truly do believe that we should all help each other whenever there's an opportunity to help each other. Because if not for this mail clerk, it would have taken me a long time to figure this out on my own. So she helped me squeeze that manila envelope with those jeans in it into a flat rate. And I was able to save nearly half of the money shipping them in the flat rate. And then she also took me out into the little lobby area of the post office and she showed me all of the free priority shipping supplies. And I took home boxes, Tyvek bags, labels, and even a roll of shipping tape completely free. And I was so incredibly grateful for that because I was gonna run out of those manila envelopes eventually. And I didn't wanna have to go spend money to buy more because, you know, I was selling items on eBay, but I was not making a lot of money. After paying the fees and shipping the items, I was probably only making 50 bucks. And so even spending $5 on a new package of manila envelopes, I didn't wanna have to do that. So to know I could get shipping supplies for free was amazing. Then I had to learn another valuable lesson. That was, if you're going to use the free priority shipping supplies, you had to pay for priority shipping. So on some of the lighter weight clothing items that I was selling, I started to realize that I was paying a little bit more for shipping because I was using the free priority supplies. But I was also selling more heavy clothing items like the jeans that I knew just from the previous experience that I was saving money on shipping using the priority. So I feel like in the end, it all kind of balanced out. So now here's a mistake that I didn't realize then that I was making, but I realize now. And I might have been able to grow it into something better back then had I known I was making this mistake. And it's something I wanted to talk to you about so that you don't make those same mistakes I did so you can grow your business faster than I was able to. You ready for it? You ready for the mistake? I was spending 100% of my profits. And honestly, I was spending 100% of the profits because we needed it. So I had taken that $20 and I had purchased merchandise to resell. And every time there was a little bit of money that came in from a sale, it was spent. And so then when I had nothing left to sell, I had to scrape together money again. But then at the same time, it also kind of helped me to figure out different ways of finding merchandise for resale. Like I had mentioned that Yahoo forum, Free Cycle. There was, items that people would post on Free Cycle, and it was always first come, first serve. So somebody would post something on Free Cycle and it was all through emails. There was no like messaging function or like comments. There was nothing like that. You had to email them and say, I want that, I will come and pick it up. You had to watch that site like a hawk. So that is what I did. I watched Yahoo Free Cycle like a hawk. And anything that came up that looked like was small enough to where I could flip it on eBay, I would jump on it. Luckily, thankfully, that was not the last time someone had posted bags or boxes of clothing. That became like my thing. Every time somebody would post a bag of clothing, I would offer to buy it. And, thankfully people weren't charging outrageous amounts of money for clothing items. It would be like a bag for $5, a bag for $10. So now I definitely did not build a huge business that year based on an initial $20 investment. In that first year of dabbling and reselling on eBay, I probably only made $150, maybe even $200 that first year. But I definitely feel like that was a stepping stone. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to tell the story. Because anybody that wants to start a business has to start somewhere. Nobody starts knowing everything that they need to know. Nobody starts a business knowing exactly how it needs to function and how to grow it the right way. Which is why I told you, a big mistake that I made was spending 100% of my profits. Because if I would have just waited and every time that money came in, if I would have just hit it and it didn't get spent, if we were in the financial position to where we didn't need to spend that money, then I could have just kept buying more and more stuff. I didn't have to worry about only finding things for free or only finding a bag of things for $5. I would have had more money to buy better quality things. And and if I were to take that same $20 now, that's exactly what I would have done. I would not have taken one penny out. I would have just kept rolling that investment again and again and again. But I needed to start there. I needed to start somewhere to see the potential and use it as a stepping stone to learn for the future. 10 years later, I had been dabbling here and there in reselling as a hobbyist. I would always kind of, sell a few things here and there. I never really took it seriously. I had divorced my husband and gotten remarried, had another baby. That's when I decided that I was going to make it my thing. 10 years of dabbling was enough for me to know that I could do it because I had done it. I just needed to focus all of my energy on it, and I needed to get smart about it. And luckily enough for me, after 10 years of dabbling in it, I was finally in the position to where I did not have to take money out. I could take an investment and I could just keep rolling it. That way I had more and more capital to work with, and I was able to build an actual business out of it. So back at the beginning of 2016, my husband was deployed, and I told him that I had wanted to make eBay an actual business, and I told him that I was going to take $500 and I was going to invest it in merchandise with his blessing, which of course he didn't have a problem with because we had the $500 that I could invest. And so I took that $500 with that same mindset of starting with $20. And I went out and I started finding stuff that would sell. And for about a year, I just kept putting money back in the business until I had all the money I needed to buy whatever inventory I wanted to buy. And I just kept snowballing it. I just kept that money in a separate bank account. I only ever pulled out money for us if we needed it, and everything else just kept going straight back into the business. And finally, I was able to get to the point where if I saw a good deal on merchandise, if I was outsourcing, I could just buy it. I didn't have to worry about where the money was gonna come from. So if you take away anything in this video, take away this: do not spend all of your profits. If you only have $20 to start a reselling business, use that $20 and think of it as a snowball. Take that $20 and turn it into $30, and then turn $30 into $50, and then turn $50 into $100, and then 100 into 2, 2 into 5, 5 into 1,000, and then before you know it, you will have all the capital that you need to buy anything that you want for resale. But that's gonna take time, but it'll happen as long as you focus on it and are intentional. And also use that time to learn and get better. And hey, if you're watching this video, chances are you know what a poly mailer is. And you'd never ship clothing wrapped in cling wrap in a manila envelope. So see, you're already ahead of the game. All right, you guys, thank you so much for watching. If you like this video and videos like it, please give it a thumbs up. That way I know it. Don't forget to subscribe if you're interested in seeing more content, and make sure to hit the notification bell. That way you're notified whenever I post a new video. Feel free to leave any questions or comments down in the comments below. And don't forget to check the video description. I will put some useful information in there for you as well. And thank you again so much for watching. I will see you guys with my next video. Bye-bye.